mountains, you're clear. We go up here, everybody west of Hickory, it looks like the trough has already moved through, so we're okay. So it's really going to be from Hickory east that we're going to watch the risk for severe storms. And the views we're seeing out there right now, we're going to go to our Dallas camera here. This is looking off to the east. This is just a crazy shot. So we've got this storm cloud over us. It's casting a shadow on the ground, but you can see the sun still out to the west there, which the sun is going to set here coming up in about 10 minutes, around 8:42. But you can see that dark cloud billowing over Gaston County, and there is a warning for that cell just to the north. So let's go back to the radar real quickly, and we'll show you the cells. I'm going to do a quick track on this line because it's going to continue to push south and east, and we can kind of time this out. Hopefully you got most of your evening plans in, and this won't affect them, but for the next hour or so, I definitely would be ready for a passing storm. So let's look at the direction of this. KJ Jacobs is in here with me as well, so if you hear me talking to KJ, he's over here in the corner. He's on mic as well. KJ, have you seen the forward movement any of these, about 20, 25?
About 20 to 25, Brad. Okay. And we are getting some reports of hail, too.
And where's that out of?
They're coming out of the one in Rowan County, so over near Salisbury.
So there's a quick storm track, and so I'm tracking that whole line. So the first cell we showed you that KJ was talking about, that was right over Salisbury. That's a pretty tiny cell, but it's got some vivid lightning with it as well as some hail. But Concord heads up 8:29, Mount Holly 8:50, Paul Creek 9 o'clock. Probably heading into Charlotte between now and I'd say 9 o'clock, maybe closer to 9:15. Again, these times don't read specific time. Get plus or minus about 10 minutes, and that's at its forward speed continues. What's happened with a lot of these storms? They've kind of weakened. So let's go back to that Salisbury storm KJ was talking about. What was the report we had out of that, KJ?
About a ½ inch in diameter hail, and some reports pea-size. And that same system, Brad, is also producing hail too when we look at the hail tracker there. And if we broaden it out, you can you can see that we do have.
Yeah, we're getting some small, looks like some small hail reports in here, so let's pull this up real quick. Whoops.
But nothing like the hail we saw earlier in Davie, some of those other counties, they had the golf ball size hail.
Yeah, huge hail to our north. Again, this is about ½ inch diameter, so yeah, that's, we're getting pea-size to quarter-size hail in a lot of these, but the fact that they're showing any hail at all means, they probably could produce hail bigger size as they get bigger. The storms KJ is talking about, these storms up here started in Wilkes County and moved all the way to Thomasville, and just monster hail. We saw reports of golf balls and even bigger, and some of the driving through this was horrible because your car is just getting pummeled with this.
Just a sitting duck, basically.
Yeah, so we got some DOT cams. Where are these at, James? These are north, right?
Cornelius.
So Cornelius, I'll zoom in on the radar, so we're looking right in this area where they're just on the edge of that cell, and you see the camera actually shaking a little bit there, so pretty good wind. That cell's got a lot of lightning in it as well, so we're rocking pretty good there. We're curious to see if we get any hail. That's what we've been watching with a lot of these.
Right.
And one thing I'll tell you, if you get into one of these hail cores, please don't stop under an overpass. That's what a lot of people do, but you end up blocking traffic.
You do.
Try to, if you have to pull over, and do that, but get off to the side. Don't congregate under those overpasses because that ends up causing traffic jams and accidents. If you can, pull off and get to maybe a gas station that has overhang to protect your car. But in some cases, you just the car's just going to get hammered. That's just the way it's going to go. And check the car the next day for hail damage. Remember, golf ball size hail. If you ever wonder why we give warnings for 1 inch diameter or higher, because that's about the threshold where it starts to cause damage. But really, it's about an inch and a quarter, inch and a half size hail. That's roughly the size of a golf ball. That will cause dents on your car and cause roof damage. Even if you don't see it initially, you go back and find those asphalt shingles could be damaged. So the one storm that catches my eye is this one right on the state line near Boiling Springs, because it's got that right churn to it, and it's also got kind of a supercellular look to it. So that's one I would watch carefully. If we're going to see a tornado spin up, the atmosphere is actually, believe it or not perfect for tornadoes today, which is good for us because we do have a lot of cold air aloft in mid and upper levels, which is ideal for hail. But because the shear in the lowest levels is not really strong, we haven't seen a lot of tornadoes or tornado type storms. But if they start to turn right, like this storm is, And I'll show you what I mean by right. I'm going to loop this. Notice how it's kind of moving more to the south and east, and I'll do a quick track on that. It's kind of moving off in this direction as opposed to this way. So we call that a right turn. This would be a left turn. And we're basing that on forward motion. So that right turn turns it more into the southerly winds, which means you can get some things to spin up. So there's the lines. Everybody in the southern Piedmont and the upstate who basked in that warm, hot sun today, now is the time that it looks like we're going to start to see some thunderstorms move in, probably over the next couple of hours. We got a severe thunderstorm watch, which is in effect until 11 p.m., but I just saw they're canceling some of the counties to the west slowly but surely. Now, remember the watch, what this means. I had a lot of folks that were really confused, like, why are we under a warning? There's nothing going on. It wasn't a warning. A watch means the conditions are favorable for severe thunderstorms to develop in and around this area. Watches are issued for several hours ahead of time before the storms form. So when it's sunny, that's when you expect to see a watch because you want to see that come out before the storms develop. And that's what's happened today. That's why the watch is out. And it's actually verifying quite well because if you look right now, all the areas we had full sunshine now are seeing these severe thunderstorms begin to bubble up. That's that shot in Cornelius again on I-77, rocking and rolling there. Some pretty good winds moving that camera. So this is in Cornelius in the northern part of the county where it is currently under a severe thunderstorm warning. That's till 9 o'clock, correct?
Yes, that's right. And Brad, I think your best analogy of the watch is what you shared with all of us on Twitter, talking about all the ingredients for making a cake.
Oh yeah, we'll have to pull that up because
right.
This is how we kind of describe this for folks that aren't familiar. Watch versus warning. Think of this as a cupcake watch. Is when you have all the ingredients on the table. There we go.
Right.
So that's the watch. And so today we've had all the ingredients in place, even though we didn't have cupcakes yet, right? And then when the cupcakes form or once we see that, you get the warning. So the ingredients part is the key part of this.
Right. And we had all the ingredients today. We're missing that element with the capping.
Yeah.
But
so to put this in perspective, what happened today is we had all these ingredients, but they weren't baked.
Yes.
We weren't getting them to come together. So once they did and that cap broke, it really caused the warnings to pop up. And it's been every single storm so far has had a warning at some point.
Yes, and they've been that intense. So we've really been able to tap into it and the instability we've had today. And now we're getting, lack of a better phrase, cupcakes at this point. Not the cupcakes we want, they're not the sweet treats.
I do want some cupcakes. That would be great right now. But yeah, so it's when I mentioned earlier, it's all or nothing kind of day. Every storm that has developed in our viewing area has had a warning at some point. We're waiting for these Lincoln County storms to get a warning. Now that they have a warning, that means every storm that has formed has gotten a warning.
Right.
And where it hasn't stormed, there's been nothing.
Right.
So that's the all or nothing. You're either going to get a severe thunderstorm or it's not going to rain at all.
Right. And we watch these cells, very small, started small, and then they've grown, they've blossomed, and now we have some mighty cells moving across the area, and they're barely moving, Brad, just north of Charlotte.
They look like they're slowing down.
Yes.
So what I think is going to happen is this is probably going to develop into a big line, and we're going to continue to see them push off in this direction. But as KJ mentioned, earlier I was tracking them. They were moving 30. I think they said they're down to 25. I think they're less than that. I think maybe 15 or 20.
15 to 20.
So they're really slowing down. And probably the reason they're slowing down is just they're coalescing or merging together. So that's... And trust me, the slower movement is not great for flash flooding, but it's better for the tornado risk and the wind threat because the slower they move, they can't tap into that shear and they won't produce tornadoes as easily. If they start picking up a little bit of speed, then you know they're at least producing some wind and obviously producing some rotation. But hail has been probably the number one thing we've seen today.
Yeah, as opposed to more discrete cells that will have that potential to really take off and turn into those rotating supercells.
Yeah, it is crazy. I'm just going to pop up the LSRs, we call them. Those are local storm reports. We love acronyms in weather. So look to the north. Look at that track of hail. There was some wind damage back towards central Wilkes County, but then there's just a streak of hail all the way from northern Iredell County, southern Yadkin County, into Davie County, Davidson County, even parts of now Rowan County, and all the way into the Winston-Salem area. So that's where we've seen most of the hail today. We'll probably get reports in the next couple of hours. I'm thinking probably more wind as this becomes more of a line. And that's the difference. When they become more linear, you're probably going to get more wind damage reports as opposed to the hail reports, which we had earlier today.
Right, and that hail could have easily been right over us, as opposed to shifted to our north. But we've seen numerous reports of just some really large hail, and we do have that video online for you at WCNC.com.
Yeah, it's been pretty wild to see the large hail, you know, all across the area today. Some of the biggest hail we've seen in a while. And, you know, normally people think, yeah, we get hail in the Carolinas, but we don't tend to get 2-inch diameter hail. And we certainly don't see it in the middle of the summer. The summertime is not really our hail season. It's more our straight line wind season. The reason is it's usually so warm all the way up into the atmosphere. And if it is cold above, it's so warm down that the ice has time to melt. But today it was really cold and dry in the mid-levels. And the warm layer was really shallow near the surface, so the freezing level was close to the ground. And it kind of reminded me, we got kind of the jet stream upper trough set up of maybe April or May with the heat and humidity at the surface of a summer day.
Right.
So that's a bad combo. That's why today was kind of a more serious day for severe weather. We wanted you to be weather aware because it's not often. Wow, look at that now, KJ.
Right.
So that's Cornelius. Man, they're right in the thick of it.
Right in the middle of it. Can you imagine being out there right now? This is why we want everyone to be weather aware because of this ongoing situation across the area.
Sheets of rain going across. So the wind is really blowing here, and the camera is really rocking now. I'm kind of curious how this camera's mounted because it's moving pretty easily.
Right.
And I know we have Chris Jackson, our storm tracker out there. He's been chasing these storms all day long, and I think he's heading back towards Charlotte. Is that the case, James?
85 south, is that right, James?
He's going towards a storm that probably could be rotating. So he's heading towards southern Cleveland County, going towards Gaffney, basically, on 85. So what you're seeing is that we call it an anvil top. It looks like an anvil. Think of like, you know, if you ever watch Coyote and the Roadrunner, you know, that drop the anvil. It's an anvil. You use it in blacksmithing. So it takes on that shape of an anvil at the top. And what's happening there is the storm is going up vertically, and then the upper level winds are spreading out the top of it. And they're spectacular. You know, as a meteorologist, you see that. You kind of geek out a little bit because you know exactly what you're seeing there.
Yes.
Because you're actually seeing the jet stream interacting with the top of the storm.
You do. It gives us more of a textbook look at the storm, too, from this vantage point. And he's moving right towards that cell there on 85. Should intersect it as well towards Gaffney now. But yeah, really impressive views across the area.
Just got a report from Cliffside, which is in that cell of some hail. So Cliffside is over here in parts of Rutherford County. So 5 miles south, it looks like we got a report there. I know Chris Jackson is chasing that cell, but we want to go back to Cornelius briefly because waiting to see if we get some. Well, Chris has got some police ahead of him there.
Could be some reports of damage or
that's interesting.
Some sort.
Or catching somebody.
Or catching someone, too. I'm always thinking more of a weather front.
Yeah. So, Chris, are you on the line? Can you hear us? I don't hear him, but
I don't
maybe
hear
someone
him.
else hear him.
No.
But Chris is heading south on 85. He's heading towards the Gaffney area. I know that's section 85. That's in southern Cleveland County still, I can tell. He's almost there, getting towards, looks like maybe Grover area, maybe Kings Mountain, look in the area heading towards the state line. So we go back to the other view there. So the view you're seeing on the top right there, that's actually 77, and it looks like the traffic's really being impacted by the rain now because we're starting to see it back up a little bit there. Remember, you know, it is getting dark, but lights on, wipers on. Don't drive with your hazards on. If you have to pull over, do that and put your hazards on. One of the problems with driving with your hazards on is people think your car is breaking down or you're pulled over or stopped. You can cause people to slam their brakes on. So I know the visibility gets low and you think, I need people to see me. Your light's on, they'll see you. If you have to pull over and turn the hazards on, do that.
And now we have Chris Jackson, which is headed towards the storm right now on the road on 85 South. Chris? Chris, it's KJ and Brad here. Can you hear us?
He probably hears us. He's probably yelling at us. I can't hear him. But yeah, so Chris is heading south right now in that beautiful anvil. So you can actually see, so off to the right is to the west because the sun is setting there. It's illuminating back to the west. That gorgeous anvil, the backside of that storm. That is just absolutely beautiful.
Weather is beautiful when it's not impactful.
Yeah.
You know, we can sit here and talk about how pretty it is, but we all know that people who are underneath that storm right now have been heavily impacted by it. So just want to make sure that those of you who are underneath the severe thunderstorm warning storms now in the Charlotte area to just kind of stay put and stay indoors now, because we do have a severe thunderstorm warning in effect until 9 p.m. So just remember to stay weather aware. These storms will not last all night, and the majority of the area dry.
Yeah, and you know, I just texted back and forth with my wife while I'm doing this kind of multitask. They were at a swim meet in South Charlotte, and even though it's not raining at all down there, they're postponing because the lightning, they could hear the thunder and see the lightning close enough. And that's actually a good call, and that's kind of the rule of thumb. If you see the lightning or hear the thunder, you got to seek shelter, especially in a swimming event, anywhere near
water.
A pool. So you're seeing these affect areas even where it's not raining. And a rule of thumb for lightning, a lot of folks will seek shelter when it rains. So most people that get hit by lightning, it's before and after the storm, because they will normally go inside if it rains. And the thing is, lightning can strike really far from these storms.
It can, yes. Outside the storm, lightning can strike. So if you can hear thunder, you are close enough to be struck by lightning.
Yeah, so I'm glad to hear that they canceled the meet, because that's just not a great place to be on a pool deck. And that's the storm that they're probably seeing the lightning from or hearing it. Though honestly, they could be seeing this one off to the west too, because it is so tall, the one that Chris is heading towards. Let me do a quick update on this storm here. I'm going to do a track, just because I think this is going to affect western York County as well. So I think I briefly heard Chris there. So Chris, I just did a storm track on that cell you're heading towards. It's a beautiful storm. Oh, we briefly had him there. Yeah, Chris, are you there? So, Chris, you're heading south towards this storm. Have you crossed the border yet into South Carolina?
Hey, Brad. No, I'm in the Sea of Gastonia right now.
Okay, so you're still pretty far away. Wow.
Yeah, hopefully you can hear me now.
Yeah, we got you loud and clear. So, yeah, that
awesome.
Thing is, you're still pretty far away. That's a huge anvil, man.
Yeah, it is. That thing's beautiful.
Yeah, it's a right turner again, so huge RFD surge on the backside of it, too, which will be interesting to see what this does in the next hour or so.
Yeah, I saw that hook developing right as it moved off the escarpment down closer to Chesney, and I'm like, that's the storm I want.
Yeah, and it's moving into an untouched environment right now, so
that's right.
It'll be interesting.
That area had 68 dew points at like 2 o'clock this afternoon.
Yeah, that's definitely one that if it's going to spin, that's the one that's going to do it. What have you seen today so far? You were up in that hail. Did you get in that hail core around Clemens at all?
I did. I got in the hail core just west of Lexington, I guess, right near the was it the Yadkin River?
Yeah.
And got into the hail right there, right on the bridge of the Yadkin River as we going into Davidson County. And then right as I got into Lexington, it became an all-out hailstorm. There was almost no rain and pure hail.
Yeah,
and I did measure one stone of 1.5 inches, and
oh wow!
And that was after it had been on the ground for about 5 minutes because I wasn't sticking my head out in the middle of the hailstorm.
All right, we just got a golf ball size hail report out of Chesney, which is down there in that Cherokee storm you're heading towards right now. So.
I can understand it. I knew this morning in Columbia when we had pop-up showers at 8 a.m. this morning with small.
I think we lost.
Oh, we lost Chris.
No.
Oh, there you are. All right. No, we lost you on our end. There you go. We got you.
Yeah, no, I was saying, I knew this morning when we started having hail in Columbia before 8 o'clock on a June day from a pretty mediocre thunderstorm that today was going to be a not usual day.
Yeah, I just got a tweet from a buddy. He's coming back to Charlotte from Buffalo, and he said all planes in the Charlotte have been grounded. I guess they must have a ground stop out at the airport.
I wouldn't doubt it. It looked like a nice downburst off the terminal dock about 30 minutes ago.
Yeah, because I think that storm in northern Mech is actually in the approach to Charlotte Douglas from the north, so I bet they're not coming. No one's coming in that way.
Yeah, they had north operations going on earlier when I was by there.
Yeah, these are huge storms, and I don't think you're going to see pilots go anywhere near these big ones today because there's hail, all kinds of mess going on in there. And we're all backed up from yesterday's storms in the Midwest, which have been causing chaos, so it's not been a fun day to travel. Yeah, there's a good downburst heading towards the airport right now. So I'm looking at the terminal data on. It looks pretty strong. That's really come outflow dominant a little bit. That storm down there doesn't look like it's spinning quite as much. See if it cycles back up. Would you say hail was the biggest thing you saw today? You see any wind damage at all, Chris? Oh, we're frozen. But I was kind of curious because we saw some damage reports in northern Iredell, remember, from Union Grove area?
Union Grove, Harmony, we've had reports of downed trees, power lines, and we did have some reports of power outages as well.
Yeah.
That we reported. I don't know what that update is now, but
yeah, I haven't seen that. What's interesting watching the cell, it's kind of moving east, but if anything, it's actually drifting south. So I had somebody say, "Oh, it looks like it's going to miss Charlotte," and I'm like, I wouldn't be saying it's going to miss Charlotte
Don't be
because
too short just yet.
And let's be honest, it's in Mecklenburg County. Oh, there's a warning now for all of Mecklenburg County. So they
until
are
9:30,
and they plotted it southeast, so they're tracking it that direction. The problem is, and the reason I think they just put this warning out, we just talked about, there is a downburst on the back side of this where they put the new warning up, which makes sense.
And now we got the airport weather warning.
Yeah, so it looks like airport operations are going to be done here for a while. So if you had a flight coming in and or out of Charlotte Douglas, sounds like all the incoming flights, they're waving them off, and it looks like nobody's taking off right now at Charlotte Douglas.
Yeah. And that was me on Monday, trying to land at Charlotte Douglas. And
with those storms,
Yes, we went way out into western North Carolina and back for at least a half hour or so before we could land.
Well, the problem is, they've got those big runways here, so coming in from the north, you can't land or take off going north with that cell, so they'd have to only go south, which just limits the number of planes that can take off and land. And so with the lightning in the area, too, they're not going to go anywhere.
No.
Because the thing you remember about these lightning issues at the airport, people think it's just about the air traffic. Remember, the ground crews cannot load your plane, refuel planes with lightning in the area. Would you want to be out on the tarmac with a hose with Jet A, putting it into an aircraft with lightning? No, you wouldn't. So they have to evacuate all those people off the tarmac, which means nothing can move and nothing can take off. So that's the reason you see so many delays in the summertime. I know it's tough. You dealt with it traveling.
Yes.
Summer travel is the worst because thunderstorms cause the biggest havoc on airports, more so than just rain, fog, or winter weather.
Right.
Thunderstorms are the worst ones.
Thunderstorms. And it can just be an isolated storm. It won't even take up the whole area.
Right over the airport. And you put it over Hartsfield or Charlotte, or you put it over LaGuardia, or you put it over, JFK or one of the big airports in the Northeast. It's a trickle down. Everybody gets impacted. And that's what happened over the weekend because, we had delays in the Northeast, but then yesterday severe weather in Chicago, St. Louis, Memphis, and all of those delays. Dallas, Fort Worth, big American Airlines hub as well. So, unfortunately, this is going to impact a lot of Charlotte here.
Right. At a time when so many people are traveling, too. So.
Yeah, it's kind of tough. So, a lot of people's phones probably just went off, and you're probably just tuning in for the first time if you're on our app or if you're going, checking out on Facebook, YouTube. We're on our WCNC Plus. The reason your phone just went off, we just had a huge severe thunderstorm warning issued for all of Mecklenburg County. Just got some hail reports out of exit 23 in Huntersville. That's not too far from when we had that camera. So, James, I'm getting reports around the Huntersville area. So that would be like exit 23, 24, 25-ish, Birkdale Village area. That's the area. It looks like there's some hail. And if I zoom in, I'll turn the lightning off just so we can see. So right there on 77, just absolutely getting clobbered. Let's look at the hail on this real quick.
And you can almost see it showing up too on reflectivity.
Yeah, it looks really nasty there. And there's some strong winds. But let's look at the 3D slice of this just to see how tall this storm is. So what I'm going to do, we're going to take a volume scan of this, tilt it on its end. Let me pan out a little bit here. So this cell is huge. So they've got an overshooting top to 40,000. So that's where your hail core is. That's getting up there. Let's drag this back and forth. So it's a huge storm. But you see an overshooting top right over Huntersville. And what I'm talking about, if you're like, Brad, what the heck do you mean?
And we saw it today on camera, too.
Right there. So this is the updraft punching up above the storm, and we call that an overshooting top. And usually that's where you're tapping into really cold air, and that's usually where the hail is being produced, and it's coming down to the surface. So pretty good example there. We've got ground truth. We've got radar evidence of this, and so we're certainly seeing some hail come out of this, and definitely strong winds. The hail looks small. I'm looking at some pictures on Twitter. It looks like maybe pea-sized hail. Yeah, that's a good-sized piece. Much smaller than what we saw to the north, but that's in Huntersville right now. And if your phone went off, that storm is drifting south into central Mecklenburg County. So we've got new warnings up for that, and that one's till 9:30. So that's 40 minutes from now.
Right, and it's moving right over North Charlotte right now, so it's just slowly drifting towards the south and east now, moving over 85 on the north side of Charlotte, 77, just poor driving conditions right now. So if you are headed northbound from Charlotte, I would kind of wait this out at least over the next 45 minutes to an hour.
I can tell you, driving with rain in the city is not great. So if you can just wait, you're better off, because it's not worth the hassle, because everything slows down almost to a crawl, and there's just nowhere to go. So that's 77 area, North Charlotte. Now, it's basically, if you look at 485, so we're just around the North Lake Mall south of there. This is creeping into NODA right now. It's getting very close to there. Then it stretches all the way up to Huntersville to Cornelius, and there's a new cell developing on the lake. That's pushing southeast. So it looks like we're getting some additional cells moving. So we've just got a camera out of the Huntersville area. Let me zoom the radar in there. So this is where we're getting some reports of hail. I can't really tell from that.
I can't tell from...
It's hard to tell. This is pea-size hail, too, so it's not
very
really
small.
big. Yeah, from this camera, it'd have to be golf balls or something for us to see it. But just looking at the viewer pictures, it is pretty small. And at that range, here's another picture I got from Huntersville. Yeah, mostly pea-size. Looking at it showing up on some of the lawn furniture. Kit, thanks for sending that in.
Right, but we've seen some large hail today, golf ball size hail on the north end, just northern Iredell, north of Iredell in Davie County. We've had some large hail. We've been able to verify it. But right now we do have more of a pea-sized hail coming down.
Which is good, because we don't want that monster hail. That's the kind that causes damage. So if the hail stays this size, you're going to hear it. It's going to be loud, but it's not going to cause damage. The winds probably are going to be a bigger issue. Just looking at the velocity data here, we've got really strong winds. Like if we go over here near Cox Mill, just south of 73, this is an area on last Monday that was hit with all those funnel cloud reports. We didn't actually have a tornado touchdown. But looking at some of the wind speeds in here, the velocity today is around 45 to 50 miles per hour.
Yeah, speaking of wind damage, here coming in for Rowan County, trained storm spotter, 840, a tree down on a house with numerous reports of trees down in Salisbury.
Yeah.
So we are getting those storm reports coming in from Rowan County now in Salisbury. We're told numerous trees are down. Southwest Spencer in Rowan County.
Just had a report out of Huntersville, Birkday Village area of a tree, pretty big tree down. They said it felt like a hurricane, but that's a downburst.
Right. And it may not take much, Brad, to bring the trees down with all the rain we've had last week.
I mean, you could see up there let's go back and look at that. That put down a pretty good little downburst there. And what we're seeing right now around Huntersville, this certainly was a downburst. Similar. Right there. It moved right into Huntersville. Oh, man, actually a little rotation to it as well. Very interesting. Very strong winds. What happens, these storms, because it was so hot and humid today, we just showed you that went to 40,000 feet. Not only does that produce hail, but all that cold air has to come back to the ground. So what goes up's got to come down. So that's going to get heavy, dense up there at 40,000 feet. It's going to come crashing back to the ground, hit and spread out in all directions. And that downburst is what causes a lot of our damage. That's more typical of a summer storm around here. The hail, small hail, but not the big hail that we've seen today. It's kind of rare to see that set up. And downburst wind events can cause damage, significant damage, within, 2 to 3 mile radius. And I know one thing you always say, wind is wind. Yeah, wind is wind. Your house, the trees, the power lines, the trampoline in the yard, it doesn't care what produces that wind, just that the wind occurred and blew it. So if it takes 70 miles per hour to damage your house or 60, no matter what that storm is that produces that hurricane, tornado, straight line, it's going to break. At the end of the day, wind is wind. And in this case, we're seeing a lot of wind damage now in parts of the area from downbursts. And remember, the downbursts, the maximum winds could be as little as 60 miles per hour, but up to 150 miles. I mean, you can have EF2, 3 type damage. We saw that in Cherryville just a month ago where everyone thought it was a tornado, but it was 85 mile per hour straight line winds. And trust me, you get 85 mile per hour straight line winds, you will have widespread damage. The thing that always is a key to me is the more widespread the damage, usually it's straight line because tornadoes are small and narrow. If it's taking up the whole town or a whole county, it's usually straight line because that's the whole width of the storm. Right. So track on this real quickly. because this is going to affect a lot of Mecklenburg County. I'm going to track it off in this direction. I still have it set at 25 miles per hour, so I'm kind of splitting the difference here. So you could see that's going to put it into downtown Charlotte at 9:18. I think it could be sooner than that, but the warning goes to 9:30, so that's roughly about when we think it's going to get there. Locust, Mint Hill around 9:30, and then Matthews 9:42.
So roughly about 20 minutes.
Yeah. It does not look to be in a big hurry. The nice thing with the lot of thunder and lightning, not that you want to be outside in this, you're going to hear and see this coming. It's not going to sneak up on you. I'm already seeing a lot of people in South Charlotte say, I hear the thunder, I see the lightning. Where's the storm? Well, it's the north side of town. It's up in North Charlotte. It's almost uptown right now. I don't know, James, if you can pull up the view cam. I could probably grab it here. I wonder what it looks like looking off to the west.
And these storms are delayed, too. You know, we talked about them coming in a little bit sooner. But, you know, a blessing in disguise is that we didn't have them during rush hour.
Yeah, or during the maximum heat. Yeah, so we're going to move that camera to see. I'm going to pull our Dallas camera up again and see what it looks like. Yeah, we'll pull it back towards the city. So the Dallas camera is looking off to the northwest. We just had sunset at 8:42, so you could still see some of the twilight there. But we're going to move the camera and aim it back towards Charlotte. To give you a good view of Charlotte here. I'll go back to the radar because that Dallas camera is actually in the warning right now. It's right on the edge of it in northern Gaston County. So Dallas is right here. So they're right on the edge of it. And we can look back towards Spencer Mountain and uptown. We'll see that in the foreground. And we'll probably see this moving towards Charlotte here momentarily. I'm going to quickly look at the velocity data one more time. Ooh, real strong winds moving into western Cabarrus County. I'm going to back that up one frame because that was right there. Ooh, let's zoom in on that because right there, that's got to be 60 plus. Yep, 60.
Got to be 60.
Yeah, 60 mile per hour winds there, right on the Mecklenburg Cabarrus County line. That's going to be some damage. So if you're in that western Cabarrus County, you probably just felt that big rush of air. That was a downburst moving in there, and so that's moving into western Cabarrus County. What's interesting, these warnings kind of have some gaps in them. I hope they might fill them in here. But here's what I want you to do. If you're anywhere near these warnings, treat them like you're in the warning. You don't technically have to be like Harrisburg, you're in a warning. Concord, you're in the warning. Mint Hill, you're in the warning, even though you're not technically. Matthews, all those areas, because that's where it's heading, and that's where the winds are going. So the most intense area is still to your northwest, but we're starting to see some really strong winds. Just had some tweets from the Huntersville area, exit 23 again. Looks like a lot of people, there's a lot of standing water and a lot of wind hit that area on the backside. So it looks like some really strong winds came through there. That's the same winds we were just tracking. So in Charlotte, I would be ready for a downburst. So that's looking back towards Charlotte. Look at the structure on that thing.
Impressive.
That is really impressive. So,
and you can really see the lightning too.
Yeah.
In Charlotte, on the right side of your screen.
Yep. So yeah, I would telestrate, but I can't have this. But on the right side of your screen, that's Charlotte actually, and the wires to the right, and just to the left there, we're looking towards the north side of Charlotte. So this is, to give you a perspective, we're in Dallas and Gaston County. We're looking back east towards Charlotte, and you can see that storm approaching. Some really low-hanging clouds in there as well. I was gonna. There we go. Zoom in a little bit.
Yeah, we can go in a little bit on that one.
So yeah, so that, that doesn't look like, I mean, it looks ominous, but it doesn't look like anything rotating there. That's just what we call scud. If anything, that kind of looking more like a beginning of a shelf cloud or something. That's the outflow coming out. We sometimes jokingly call clouds like that SLCs, or scary looking clouds. Wow.
That lightning.
So that's some serious lightning there. But those low hanging clouds, as long as they're not rotating, they're harmless.
They're harmless.
The storm isn't harmless, but the cloud itself. Remember, we're looking for violent rotation horizontally. Up and down motion is typical in every storm.
Right.
Slow movement of those little level clouds, not dangerous. But if you start seeing them rotating, then it's a different story.
Different story.
And so we're looking at those, and I don't see them. We're looking at real time. It doesn't look like anything's rotating, but look at that rain shaft sneaking in from the left. So on the edge of the screen, a downburst.
If we can pan over just to the left.
I think it's going to be blocked.
It's going to be blocked by the,
It's going to come into frame, but if you look off to the left there, you see that where the lightning is really going crazy.
It's electric.
That is a rain shaft, and that looks like an absolute downpour. What we're going to watch for to see if the bottom kind of flares out like bell-bottom jeans or pants. If that does that, we know there's strong winds coming out. So yeah, that right in that section. A little bit to the left, right there. So see that? That's rain shaft. That's the downburst heading in.
And you can really see that striation too with the clouds, even though we're getting into more of a sunset phase.
Yeah, we still have, we get about a half hour, 40 minutes of twilight here as we go into the evening. The sun set about 20 minutes ago. Yeah, roughly. So just got another severe thunderstorm warning.
Oh, wow. Now we got the considerable tag.
That's for Rowan. So that's that storm right here. So we'll go here. And that considerable tag means we've got verifiable damaging winds in there. So that's a downburst occurring in the Salisbury area. Right there. Over Salisbury, kind of heading towards the Yadkin River. So that's pushing towards the east. So it had a really strong burst of wind out of that.
Yeah, that's a strong storm.
Yeah.
Nasty storm over Salisbury right now.
What we're talking about, when we talk about, there's three types of warnings. And the type that was just issued is that considerable one. So the considerable one means you have 70-mile-per-hour winds or golf ball size hail. The destructive severe thunderstorm warning will actually trigger the WIA on your phone, which is the wireless emergency alert, just like it does for tornadoes and flash flooding. So the fact that this is the base warning is the left side. We're in the middle now.
We're in the middle.
That was just like the Cherryville storm, which produced all that damage. It was a considerable severe thunderstorm warning. So that's a really important distinction there. That's why not all severe thunderstorm warnings are the same, and why you need to pay attention to severe thunderstorm warnings, because they do often produce just as much damage as tornadoes.
And they vary. The severity of a severe thunderstorm in of itself is going to vary in terms of intensity, and that's what we're seeing with these isolated cells this afternoon into the evening hours. So I know we've taken a few hours to get here, but now we do have some strong storms, and now we have this warning, Brad, that is shifting towards the south.
Yeah, there's a new warning. So they're basically closing the gap with the other warning.
Right.
So it replaces the previous warning that was to our north. That's till 10 o'clock. So pretty much all of Mecklenburg County is under a warning, and now a big chunk of Cabarrus County.
Yes.
And this is for damaging straight line winds. The thing that I'm noticing a transition here, KJ, is the hail threat is kind of diminished, and the wind threat's starting to creep up here. We're starting to see some really strong wind signatures. And then just looking at some of the pictures and the reports I'm getting in, you're getting a lot of things. Crazy winds, feels like a hurricane. Those are the type of tweets I'm getting right now in many of these areas. So that tells me we're getting a lot of downbursts out of these cells, which is kind of what storms do when they start the end of the day storms like this. That's their last thing. They tend to push out a ton of wind.
Everything.
So I'm not surprised it's happening, but also beware too. We're past sunset, KJ. Normally we're like, oh, things will calm down. These will likely persist well after sunset. This is just the way the atmosphere is set up. And remember, in Charlotte, it was sunny. It was 90-something degrees
untouched all day.
Yeah, so there's plenty of fuel for these storms. Even though the sun is down, it's still really hot and sticky out there. In fact, I want to look what the high was today. I didn't even glance earlier. We got up to 89. 89 and 60. Wow, perfectly normal day. That's kind of odd. But it was really muggy out there, and that sun was out all day, which really led to a lot of these storms developing. So I see Chris Jackson's shot over in the corner of my eye here. He is down here on 85. He's now in the rain, so that tells me he's at least crossed the border into this storm in South Carolina. We did have a report of golf ball size hail with this cell, and we also had some rotation. This storm was the one that intrigued us from a rotation standpoint, because it was showing signs that it might be moving right, maybe a little more rotation, more of a tornado risk than the other cells. But looking at it right now, it doesn't look like it's doing that, so that's good news.
That is good news as it's continuing to move towards the east. Do we have Chris on the phone?
Yeah, I'm here.
Hey, Chris. So you're in it now.
Just enjoying the core of this thing, and it looks like that RFD surge might have undercut it. And
I can see the outflow boundary all the way to the front of it now. You're right.
But the rain's no joke, that's for sure. I'm in mile marker 100 on I-85, and I can basically see about maybe a quarter to half mile in front of me.
Yeah, it looks. I know the sun's set there, but other shots you can actually have some twilight. It's pitch black there. Holy moly!
Chris, what's the wind like driving?
It's probably 20 to 30 right now.
Okay.
You can see. I don't know if you guys can see on the interstate, but you're getting some almost rain curtain effect.
Yeah. I noticed that on the DOT cameras. You could see those curtains of rain going by, so you knew the wind was really whipping.
Right.
Yeah, visibility looks to be pretty low, too.
Holy moly.
No hail outs yet, just heavy rain. So
that's good.
Let's see what the other side of this storm looks like once I get through this.
Yeah, it should get through pretty quick. It's a pretty narrow storm. It's very elongated from west to east.
And you're staying on 85, is that right? Southbound?
Yeah, I'm on 85 southbound, just between Blacksburg and Gaffney.
Yeah, we're getting, up in our area, we're getting a lot of downburst out of these cells that are emerging over Mecklenburg County. A lot of them becoming outflow dominant, it looks like. Yeah, let's go back to Uptown and see. I mean, it should be pretty dark up there, but it's getting really close to Uptown right now. NODA looks like it's raining, and then University, it's coming down pretty good. Highland Creek, just got a report from Highland Creek. I mean, I'll take their word for it, and I wasn't there, but Rick says the worst winds he's seen in 20 years living in Highland Creek, so it tells you some pretty strong winds up there. And he's not alone. I've heard a lot of that from up at northern Mech, that area, Cox Mill area, Highland Creek, Skybrook area. That was up there towards Metrolina Greenhouse area. I remember last week they had some damage from those storms that produced the funnel clouds. They were hit heavily last week, so this is the second line of strong storms there. And looking at, I believe everything they're saying because you look at the velocity data, it was basically a downburst.
Yeah. That
moved through all of Mecklenburg, northern Mecklenburg County. That's why you see the ground stop at the airport too. That's something you don't want to mess with in an aircraft.
Not in an airplane.
And it looks like that outflow from that has actually made it to Uptown. Going to be to Plaza here shortly, if not already there. And then it's going to move into Cotswold, Idlewild, eventually Myers Park, Dilworth area, and then move down into South End as it continues to trek south.
What's the speed now, Brad?
Boy, man, I'm gonna see what the radar thinks it's moving at because I don't believe the speed I saw earlier. 21, so it's slowing down. They had 25 earlier, so that's the radar thinks it's moving 21. So let's do an updated storm track there, and I'll plot this at 21 miles an hour.
That slower speed is not going to be good for potential flooding.
Yeah, and we're so saturated, so it is not going to take much. And this part of Mecklenburg County, Cabarrus County, is the part that was flooded last week. So that's an updated storm track based on 20 mile per. I'll move it again. Based on 20 miles per hour.
It doesn't want to let go.
I know, it won't let go, but there we go. All right, so move that over there. So Harrisburg, 911, which is coming up any second now. Paul Creek, Charlotte, 9:35. We've been right around that 9:30 time frame, plus or minus a couple minutes. Midland, moving there. Stanfield, Hemby Bridge, Matthews, and then Stallings closer to 10. So it's going to have a pretty significant impact. There's a good reason the watch was up until 11 o'clock, because I think it's probably 11 o'clock midnight when things do calm down. That trough seems to be swinging through, and if you look back to the west, you kind of see the backside has already made it past the mountains and is pushing in. But this is kind of what some of the guidance was showing, a little cluster developing here late evening like this. But had it forming sooner, as you mentioned, KJ.
Yes.
And then moving through here into the evening. But everything was delayed by an hour or two, maybe 2 hours for most areas. And it was primarily, I think, because of the morning storm stabilizing everything. It just took a while for things to, we were capped. The atmosphere was completely capped, and it took a while for that cap to break. And once it did, it didn't take long. Every storm that has bubbled up has gone severe. We'll see if these storms developing on the backside do anything. But so far, everything we've seen in Metro Charlotte has gone severe with strong winds.
Yeah, hopefully the storms out there now will kind of suck up all the energy, and then the ones that are developing now won't really have too much to tap into. So, we can keep our fingers crossed for that as we head into the late evening hours. But right now we do have that severe thunderstorm warning for Mecklenburg County until 10 p.m. tonight.
Yeah.
And Cabarrus County.
So it's I'm guessing they're going to warn for this thing the whole time.
Yeah.
Unless it just completely falls apart. Because just looking at the lightning, I'll tell you this too. I've not seen a lightning storm like this in a while. Everyone's asking me, "Wow, what's up with the lightning?" I'm like, well, this is like a legit thunderstorm. And the one thing about lightning, the one thing that makes lightning is the ice crystals in the top of the storm. So the same thing that is giving us a high hail risk today
yes.
is going to produce a ton of lightning because you're getting ice crystallization in the top of this. So we call it glaciation. So we get a lot of ice particles in the top. And what lightning is, those ice particles, even snowflakes at the top of the storm, are rubbing against each other, causing a negative charge to build up. And just like static charge, when your house, you've ever shocked yourself or shocked the doorknob, that's what happens. So there's a new warning, and it's for this storm that we've been tracking for a while, but it's moving into western York County. It went from a right turn, and now it's moving back to more due east. So that's good. The reason I say that, that's less of a tornado risk. But that means now we're going to get a severe storm moving into York County.
Yep.
Let's look at the velocity data on that real quickly.
So yeah, heads up for those of you in York County moving towards Clover, York, Lake Wiley.
Yeah.
Still some time before it gets there, but just know that we do have a severe thunderstorm headed in your direction.
I'm going to pull up.
Hey, Brad, you still there?
Yeah, I'm here, Chris. What's up?
Hey, yeah, just looking at this storm visually you guys were talking about, it looks like this thing split.
Yeah.
It looks just like a splitting supercell, but in my shot right here, what you're seeing is the outflow boundary the storm produced just a little while ago.
Oh, I see it.
And you can kind of see the backward C presentation.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, the front section here, Blacksburg, looks like it is split off from the backside now. There's a little split around Gaffney.
It does, yeah.
Wow, that's
yeah,
pretty.
And I can see a new lowering, I guess, I'm going to say lowering, but a new updraft face off to my right.
Yeah,
it's currently obstructed by the trees, but yeah, pretty interesting to watch this evolution over the last like 30 minutes.
Interesting.
Yeah, that second, the split on the backside is definitely curious looking. That one is interesting. Yeah, that's definitely a new updraft going up there. Some new lightning strikes in there as well in the core. Yeah, it's amazing to see how the visibility has improved. That tells you how heavy that rain was.
Greatly.
I can still see the sunset. Wow.
I almost see some blue sky a little bit.
Yeah.
Between the cloud cover.
That's very interesting.
I wish I could be facing the other way because the cumulus is just pure white right now. It looks like cauliflower.
Oh, wow.
It's actually quite pretty.
That is nice. Yeah, it's interesting to see. These cells have been very photogenic today.
Well, it looks like that storm over the terminal Doppler over toward you guys is trying to get a hook on it.
Yeah, it's a nice little storm, and it's got heck of an updraft moving towards Uptown right now. Yeah, it's definitely got a big surge right towards the terminal Doppler radar, which is right around Mountain Island Lake there. That's heading towards the northwest side of town on 16 as you go up north into Lincoln and Gaston counties.
There's a shot over Uptown now. Looks dry from this viewpoint.
Not quite there. If we could swing the camera to the right, you might be able to get a good view of that cell. So there's 485 and 77. Ooh, I see the lightning strikes. 77, 85. So this is on the west side.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's really close. The lightning is there's a lot of lightning in this storm.
It's almost like someone's like flicking their lights or something with the lightning.
And I'm seeing a lot of positive lightning strikes, which is a pretty good indication of lightning coming out of the top of the storm, so high up in the atmosphere. Just got a damaged picture from Union Grove from earlier. Looks like a turkey barn or something with some wind damage. Yeah, so that was from those earlier storms. We certainly had some really nasty storms in northern part of Iredell County. I'm going to do a quick little loop on this. I know a lot of folks are watching us online or watching us on social media, but I'm going to update a couple things for people who aren't watching currently on other social media here. I know we're streaming on our app and everywhere else. If you got friends or family in Mecklenburg County and they're looking for a place to get some updates, make sure you point them our way because we're probably going to stay on this as it moves through the metro area to keep an eye on the severe weather as it moves in. I'm looking at my Facebook page right now. A lot of folks saying I can see a ton of lightning from Uptown and South Park area, some pea-sized hail in Mooresville. Someone said they saw some rotation in Bellhaven area of Huntersville. Certainly, the lightning is sticking out. There's a new warning. Yeah. Let's go to this one. So this is for the cell to the north. So that's the Mooresville storm into southern
Cabarrus,
Iredell,
yeah.
into Cabarrus and Rowan County. So warnings are coming fast and furious now as we get these.
They're popping up all over the place.
Yeah, and this is for 60-mile-per-hour winds as well. So I'm not surprised. Almost every one of these storms has started to produce some damaging winds here. And that's going to be our threat, I think, more so than the hail. Earlier today, it was all about the hail, but honestly, right now, it is really becoming about the winds. Looking at the wind speeds, I'm seeing little splats everywhere, and what I mean by that is the air being pushed down to the surface and spreading out in all directions. That's a really good indication of a downburst, and we're seeing several of those. And in some cases, they're really intense downbursts in a small area. We call it a microburst, but we're certainly seeing some of that. Just looking at some of the reports here, some hail in Huntersville, more hail in Huntersville, a lot of wind damage reports, branches and trees down in Huntersville, Cornelius area. So certainly looks like the Huntersville area, Highland Creek area, we saw something kind of develop there pretty quick. Just got a report of hail in Blacksburg, down there in South Carolina. So that's going to be with this cell right there. Chris just drove through that cell. But yeah, like he said, this secondary cell looks like it's split a little bit. The backside one is looking a little more interesting. So this is the tweet that was just sent out. This was the damage from Union Grove, which is in northern Iredell County. This was with the first storm of the day, which was around, I guess, 4:30ish, maybe 5 o'clock. Had some monster hail, but this was wind damage that it produced as well. And that barn has definitely had its metal roofing completely torn off. Likely straight line wind damage there. And that's 60, 65 mile an hour winds for sure in that cell. And that's what we're watching with these storms moving into Mecklenburg County right now. Anybody who had a flight planned, trust me, it's not happening right now. Everything is completely shut down at the airport. There's no takeoff or landings going on with these severe storms right over Charlotte Douglas. They tend to be drifting off to the south and east more than they were earlier. So we'll see if they backbuild a little bit back towards Charlotte, but they're moving in. So some of the cameras you're seeing from around the Charlotte area, this is what it looks like out there on the roads. Look at that lightning strike. That was a vivid cloud to ground right down there. So some words of caution for the lightning. Obviously stay indoors, but even in your house, do not use the shower, the bathtub, the sink. Remember, if you're touching or using any plumbing that's attached to pipes that go outside of your house, those pipes or plumbing or that water gets electrified by a lightning strike. That will transport it into the house to where you are. So I know it seems like an old wives' tale. Your mom or your grandma told you, don't take a shower during a thunderstorm. There's a legit reason.
There's a reason.
The same way the water gets in your house is the same way the electricity gets in there. So we don't want you to do that. Back in my day, we had corded game controllers. We weren't allowed to play on our Nintendo or our PlayStation. We had to use cordless phones and cordless controllers, but most people have cordless everything now. So that's the other thing. Don't have anything plugged into the wall that you're touching. So hair dryers, stuff like that. Just stay away from that stuff, because if a surge comes through the electrical system, it can get you as well. So lightning is something, there's no warning system for lightning. There's no criteria for severe thunderstorm warnings for lightning, but by definition, all thunderstorms have it.
Lightning.
And so it's something you need to take serious, especially if you're outside, but even inside there are some risks as well.
Right, and this is 485 in Brookshire, by the way. Brad, one of my tricks when it comes to I want to charge my phone, I just plug my phone into my laptop.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
And
that way you don't have to be plugged into the wall. Yeah.
Right.
Or have one of those battery backup that you can use so that you're not having to plug it into the wall or just wait it out. Plus, it saves your phone and your laptop from getting a power surge. Because trust me, everyone says, I got a power surge or protector or whatever. If you get a direct hit from lightning, those things aren't going to help you at all.
Doesn't work.
Those are for just regular surges that the power company would send out by accident, turning on and off power. They're not meant to protect from lightning strikes. So just be aware of that. That is not the full protection you have. And hopefully everything in your house is grounded already. This Chris Jackson shot again. Beautiful. Look at this. He's traveling south on 85. And you can see off to the right is the beach. That's right there in Gaffney near the outlet malls. You could see it going by there on the right. You could see the sun setting off to the right. So that is facing west as he drives south on 85 through Gaffney. So that's an easy That'd be great if that was a radome.
Right?
If there was a Doppler radar.
I feel like I know that area. A nice locator.
Yeah. But yeah, everyone knows that's the landmark there as you're traveling south on 85. That storm has been an interesting storm near Gaffney. It's off on the left side of your screen. That's the storm right there. And near Gaffney, he's actually in Gaffney, so he's out of it, but back to his north is a pretty significant little cell, supercell, still developing and moving southeast. That's actually prompted the warning for western York County. I'll zoom in on that just to show you the York County. That's until 10 p.m. That one's actually moving now. Remember how slow it was?
It was not moving. Was it Forest City?
Was there forever.
It just sat there.
So now it's actually moving. I think that outflow kick from the RFD is helping it. These storms in Mecklenburg, they're moving a little bit more, but I am surprised we haven't had flash flood warning or advisory, because I'm gonna check the stream gauges there, because I bet some of those stream gauges in North Mech are probably pretty high. So let me go to the FINS site.
Yeah, what's the rainfall rate?
I have not looked at the rainfall rate here in a second, but we'll look at some of the totals in northern Mecklenburg County where it's been coming down for a while. So most of the totals I'm seeing are around 3/4 of an inch, but there are a few around Mountain Island Lake of 1.5 inches. I got 1.65 at McDowell Creek already. So that's some significant rain, and all that has probably fallen in the last hour. So that's some pretty heavy rainfall there. I'm going to check the creek there just to be careful, because that creek goes into Mountain Island Lake.
Almost 1.25 inches to 1.5 inches per hour.
That's about right. That's the totals are coming in now around that. So yeah, I don't know about that one either. So let's go back to the radar here. It's probably low. Probably the scud cloud we saw earlier from, and it's in the wrong spot, because that report came from Tybola Boulevard, which is down here, and that's nowhere near the storm, which is kind of interesting. My guess, it's the outflow boundary, and I bet if I looked at this, we would see the outflow boundary right there. But that's probably the outflow boundary coming through that area. We had a report of someone said maybe a funnel cloud, but based on where it is and the radar, that's not the location where you would see a funnel cloud, because the report came in from here.
Yeah.
Funnel cloud would be up in here. So my guess is that outflow boundary from this pushing out. Yeah, and you could briefly see the outflow boundary briefly coming down right here.
And we do have some low-hanging clouds out
so
there.
right there, there's still, these low-hanging clouds. It's probably a little line of clouds with the outflow, and it was probably moving, because it's the outflow boundary. Yeah, so it looks like scud. We'll go back to the Dallas camera here in a minute, I think. I'll pull it up, see guys, and we'll show you. Yeah, we're looking back towards Charlotte. So this is from our Dallas camera, which is back in Gaston County, obviously. Right in the middle of your screen, you can see that wire there. That's kind of where, we're going to move the camera a little bit here.
And Brad, we talked about the cell that Chris is driving towards now, and he alluded to how it was breaking up.
Yeah.
And the front end of it has sort of dissipated at this point when it split.
The back side is really the one that's taken over.
Yes. And the lightning with the backside is really intensifying.
So yeah, the updraft's still there. Right around Gaffney, there's a little appendage there too. It's a little interesting cell. Okay, we're going to come back and look at this Mecklenburg. So we're going to show you the Dallas camera from Dallas, looking back towards the east. We're looking towards that storm. So I'll bring up the Dallas camera here, and we're going to look back towards Charlotte, and you can see, we've got some low clouds. That's the thunderstorm pretty much right over Charlotte. I mean, look at the cumulus cloud above it. That's
the cloud
gorgeous.
formation.
Yeah, that is pretty phenomenal. That's a big anvil. So that's your classic supercellular looking kind of storm, but we don't have the base or the rotation in there. Look at the electricity on this, though. I mean, that is a lot of lightning, almost continuous. And you're getting two types of lightning here. You have intercloud lightning, which is cloud to cloud, and cloud to ground. So there's two types of lightning, and the lightning that you see sprawling across the sky, that's in the cloud. It's one cloud hitting another cloud. There's different charges in different parts of the cloud. And then you see those CGs, we call them, cloud to ground strikes. And it's basically right to the ground. And those are the ones that are dangerous, cause house fires. cause issues. Boy, that is a...
Do you want to take a look at the frequency, Brad, of the lightning?
Yeah, let's look how frequently it's been coming in.
Just another little product that we use with...
Loading very slow. Okay, I'll pull up the lightning data. I'm just gonna look at these cells here, and I think I have it set. I'm gonna look for my time frame here. Let me make sure I have this selected. See what my time frame is for lightning here.
Kind of give us an indication of...
We'll just draw a box there.
Looks like the airport weather warning to...
so we had 94 strikes, and I think this is a 15-minute time frame. A lot of positive strikes. That looks a little out of whack. Positive to negative should not be that crazy, but that's a lot of lightning in a short period of time. And again, it's all clustered in that one area right here, heading towards Noda on the north side of town. It's basically traveling towards Noda right now, almost to 85 and 77. We showed that camera earlier. Remember, it wasn't raining, but it was like the whole sky was being illuminated.
Right.
Because there's lightning everywhere right now, and it's not raining at all yet. Pretty... Yeah, so a lot of our cameras, I'll pull those up for real quick.
Could look at Monroe.
Yeah, we'll pull up Monroe here. I think this one is looking back towards Uptown. Yeah.
Yes.
Look at all that lightning there. So look how continuous it is. I mean, it's stunning how much lightning there is.
Looks like we have a view from the control room. Is that James? Everyone, say hello to James.
Yeah, we're going to show that too. Kannapolis, the Cannonballer Stadium. We're looking off towards, this is kind of northish, northwest almost. If you look straight over center field, that's kind of northeast. So this is kind of more north. So we're looking towards that cell up in probably Rowan County. So I'll show you that on radar. So that was a look at the storm. Let's see, pausing here. Got some big lag going on. Got some hail in the Davis Lake area. So yeah, Kannapolis is looking at this storm just to the north here, between Mooresville and China Grove. So that's the storm we're looking at. Pretty good lightning display in there, but the one in Mecklenburg County is the one overproducing right now. Pea-size hail in North Charlotte. Major hail in the University area, just got that. Huntersville, still pouring. A lot of crazy lightning. I'm getting a lot of lightning pictures as well.
Just incredible that these storms just blossomed, and they're all severe warned. So continue to stay weather aware, guys. I know we keep saying that, but it is. These are some strong storms. You know, it's one thing to look at it on radar. It's another thing to be out in the middle of them.
Yeah, and lightning's becoming a real big factor with these. So again, if you want to unplug some things that you don't want to get zapped, probably a good idea. Computers, electronics that you don't think will survive a surge like this, but there is a lot of electricity in these storms right now and a lot of wind. We're getting some really heavy rain reports as well. I'm surprised we have not seen a flood advisory yet. That's the one thing I am surprised we haven't seen. So pretty impressive wind coming out of here as well. We'll go back to the Dallas camera here real quick. Looking back towards Uptown, we can show you some of the lightning and amazing. Yeah, a lot of low scud blowing around in there. There's some very heavy rain. Yeah, it is really coming down in there. So that's right inside the rain shaft there. You can see some of the clouds pushing out. That storm is the one that is just lighting up the sky like crazy in Mecklenburg County.
Talk about the evolution, Brad, of these storms. We went from isolated discrete cells with hail to storms producing wind, strong winds causing damage, and now we're talking about the intensity of the lightning.
Yeah, they've gone from singular cells, like you said, discrete supercells, to now these multicellular clusters, and they're trying to kind of coalesce into lines now. And that's kind of the process, the evolution that we thought we'd see today into the evening, which meant we went from hail, sometimes tornado risk, even the tornado risk honestly overall today was really low for supercells, and now we're getting more into a wind, rain, and lightning. The lightning to me is always one of those things that this time of year when you get this heat and humidity like we have, and you can get that hot humid air up to a cold part of the atmosphere, you tend to get a ton of lightning. That's why Florida is the lightning capital of the world, in America I should say, not the world. I mean, probably most of Indonesia and Southeast Asia, probably more lightning strikes, and then parts of the Amazon rainforest as well. But for the U.S., it's up there because of the heat and humidity. They just get so many of these perfect setups for lightning strikes. And today kind of felt like a Florida day for a while with the heat and humidity. And look at that cluster of lightning. I mean, that is just south of 485 near Croft. It's heading towards 85. But just to tell you, that lightning strike's really far from these storms. You want to be very, very careful out there this evening. Don't go outside. I'm getting some pictures, but make sure you're really far away and not going out in the middle of this thunderstorm, because these things have really meant some business with the lightning. There's also a risk, for some severe weather to continue to our east into the evening. These storms are going to go into central North Carolina eventually tonight. I want to widen the view and kind of show you how these are pushing off to the east. So these storms will continue to push east very slowly, and overnight we should see things calm down, but they're going to last a while. They'll last well into the midnight hour, I think, before they completely dissipate. So let's go back. I'm going to just go back through the warnings here. We'll start from north to south. So north first, we'll go to Salisbury. There still is technically a warning there till 9:30 for Rowan and Davidson. Now we've got a warning for parts of Iredell, Cabarrus, and Rowan and northwestern Cabarrus. That one is till 10 o'clock. Then we've got this big warning, which is in effect for most of northern Mecklenburg County and parts of Cabarrus County. That one is until 10 p.m. tonight. And then we've got the warning for western York County. That's until 10 o'clock. But that cell, honestly, is falling apart, which is good news. The electrical storm going on right now is in Mooresville, down to Huntersville, the Concord area, that little triangle, which unfortunately was clobbered last week. That was all those funnel cloud reports we had.
And we got a crash to report on, too. This is 77 and Gilead. Is that right? Okay, in Huntersville.
So
okay,
yes. That's going to be right there. I think it's the first or second exit past 485, if I'm not mistaken. Let's go up here. I think it's right here. So it's going to be, this lightning is in the way. Let me remember. There's so much lightning
data, yeah.
Turn the lightning off. So that's going to be, there's Alexander Road. I think that's coming up Hambright. It's going to be right in here somewhere. So right there on 77.
In the thick of it.
Yeah, so they're still getting, looking at the camera. So right about there, man, that does not look like, it's pouring right there, especially on the west side. So, the radar just made it through there. We just got an update on the radar. So the back edge has just made it through there. But look at the core here over towards Highland Creek area, Skybrook community. Let me look at the velocity data. Still really strong winds pushing down right there as that continues to push off to the east. So, yeah, these are really become efficient wind makers now. They were doing the hail and really producing that hail. Now they're producing the wind and the rain and obviously a ton of cloud to ground lightning. The lightning is no joke. Just updating a couple things. Yeah, most of what I'm hearing now is people that aren't in the storm from distance saying, what is going on in Charlotte? Because they can just see the lightning. Got a report from Stanfield over here, and they're no rain yet, but boy, they could see the lightning back over Charlotte, and it's going to be heading their way. So Cabarrus County's in the thick of it now. It's really northeastern Hickory, or northeast, I should say, and east of Hickory. So everywhere from Hickory to, I would say, to Shelby East is where we're still watching for potentially some of these severe storms. If you're west of Hickory, back into the mountains, you're in the clear. Now, the most severe storms are in the Mooresville area, the China Grove, back towards Kannapolis, Huntersville, University area, Harrisburg, Concord, Mount Pleasant, Stanfield. I just got right there. It's on the edge. You're not in the rain yet, but trust me, it's on your way. Big Lick, Midland, there's right there. We are seeing some serious lightning with this, and now that it's moving, I think we're going to see the wind pick back up, because their wind has been a big issue with this, especially around Georgeville, Midland area, right on the Stanley, Cabarrus County line, Locust, Red Cross, those areas as you go east on 24, Albemarle Road, going all the way out to Albemarle. Yeah, central Stanley area is going to be hit pretty good by that wind and eventually this storm as well.
Brett, if you look at radar, we talked about the storm sort of drifting southward. Now that they're moving again, it almost looks like they're moving more eastward now.
Look, it wobbled south and then it lifted back up. That happened with that cell in the upstate too. It was drifting south and all of a sudden something's coming in the upper levels or mid levels of the atmosphere. It's pushing everything due east. It might be the upper trough. We could probably look at the water vapor loop and see that. Yeah, see this little push coming in from the west? There's a little ripple right in here. It's hard to tell, but there's a little ripple right in here. And watch this coming. It starts pushing everything to the east,
more east
as it's coming down. So there's a little ripple in this northwest flow. And that's all it takes sometimes, that little bit of turbulence. And it's starting to push everything. Yep, just enough to push everything off to the east. So let's go to the Dallas camera here. We'll take a good look at that. This is, again, Dallas, not Dallas, Texas, Dallas in Gaston County. We're looking back towards east. Looks like there's a
helicopter. Is that a plane?
That's a plane trying to land, I think, at the airport. Boy.
They also canceled the weather warning, too.
So maybe they're trying to get in.
That is interesting. So this is a look now.
Yeah, so we're banned. That storm now it's kind of pushing east. Look at the lightning now. Unbelievable.
Absolutely intense.
Yeah.
It's almost like if we could have the sound effect to go with the lightning we're seeing right now.
That is unbelievable.
But of course, those of you at home watching, you can hear it. We can't from where we are. But it is incredible to watch it from this viewpoint. But take lightning seriously. If you hear thunder, make sure you stay indoors.
The camera. So the cannonballer's obviously not playing right now, and nobody should be outside. But we're looking towards this cell. This is the cell looking off to the north from Kannapolis. This is looking northeast. So this is the cell that is essentially in Rowan County, near China Grove. Heading towards Salisbury and Rockwell. But boy, that's got a pretty good core to it as well, and is producing a lot of cloud-to-ground lightning.
I feel like that plane is flying into the storm.
It's probably trying to get in to the airport. It was probably one of the planes that was in a hold, and they probably had to make it run for the runway because they were running low on fuel. So the storm has moved a little bit past the airport, so I'm not surprised they're trying to get some planes in.
They're landing, yes.
Yeah. I can see more coming in. I'm going to look at my flight tracking here just to see what they're doing, because they're probably using specific runways right now. Yeah, it looks like they're only using that one runway currently, which is good.
Yeah.
But there's going to be tons of delays out there. So if you have friends or family flying in or out of Charlotte, they're only coming into left. They're not taking off going south. There's a bunch of planes coming in.
It's almost like, how cool would it be to be on a plane?
Well, the views have got to be spectacular.
Capture the view.
So what they're doing right now, for the folks watching our stream, the planes are coming in like this into the airport, and they're landing right there. There's probably, I'm looking at 5 planes coming in for landing. Nobody's coming in from the south, and nobody's taking off south, but they're all coming in from this direction and coming into the airport right now. So it looks like bunch of U.S. Airways flights, AA, all American.
Right, that'd be a really cool tweet.
Yeah. So we'll go back to the Dallas camera here, and we can kind of look back and show you this storm from a distance. It is real. Look at that thing. Huge thunderstorm, and you can see the top of it. The whole storm is just illuminating with just constant cloud-to-ground lightning. Yeah, and you'll see the planes coming in and landing. So I know it looks like they're flying through the storm, but the storm is off to the east far enough. It is moving away from them, so they're coming in and able to make a landing. Because remember, these planes might be low on fuel. They've been circling for a while. Some of them got to come in, so they're going to put them in priority. The ones that need to come in first, they're going to sneak them in and get them in there right away. Yeah, I got a friend saying, rough night for flying, watching these planes coming in. Still got to be a lot of turbulence coming in as well.
Oh, most certainly. And that's the camera capturing the plane.
Yeah.
Coming in now.
So they're landing And again, just to give you a perspective, that storm, which is still producing all that lightning, is now pretty far east of the airport. It's actually more in the university area. So, Cabarrus County, you're getting the worst of this in Rowan County right now. Let's look at the velocity data just to see. Yeah, the winds in the Concord area, Harrisburg area are really strong. We'll query these real quickly. So yeah, there's a lot of wind still pushing out of these over here. So you're probably going to see some branches, maybe some lawn furniture blowing around. Just make sure you stay indoors until these storms pass. We don't want to take any chances as they continue to push east. They're starting to move east. That's the good news. I'm seeing some movement. There's my computer going off. That's another storm warning in another part of the state. But so
and we've also had a hail report too, Brad. I don't know if you just mentioned that.
Let me throw these
in
up.
Mecklenburg County.
Yeah, so that's the hail report that KJ is mentioning right there, just inside the inner loop. 1-inch diameter hail at 9:33 p.m. from the Croft area. Had some hail reports up here in Rowan County, and then a whole bunch up there in northern Union County. So we've seen a couple little clusters that have done the majority of the damage today. And this is kind of what we expected today. We didn't expect it to maybe take as long for them to get going, but kind of knew earlier today when we had the clouds and showers first thing this morning that was going to slow everything down a little bit. But this was going to be a late evening into the nighttime hour type of setup. And sure enough, that has been the case today, that we're now here at 9:40 in the evening and probably had the worst storms of the day over the Piedmont. Now, trust me, we had strong ones earlier in the evening up in the northern Piedmont, northwest Piedmont, but now for the southern Piedmont of North Carolina, we're seeing the worst weather today with severe thunderstorm warnings continuing until 10 o'clock, which is about 20 minutes away here for Cabarrus, Iredell, Rowan, and Mecklenburg County. And it's really, they probably just put out one giant warning at this point, the way this is going. Let me look at the hail again. I have not seen as many. Yeah, there's that track of hail. So that hail matches up with what we call the LSR. You can see that storm report. Let me show you the hail. So the radar is indicating, we had 1-inch diameter hail, right? 0.9. Kind of interestingly enough, you go here and see the storm report from Croft, 1-inch diameter hail. So the radar matched exactly what we saw from the surface report. So it didn't always work out that great. Radar estimation, versus what people see, but the estimates were right on with what we saw. So Landis, if you're in Landis, China Grove, Rockwell, Millbridge, Mount Ula to Granite Quarry, just nonstop lightning, heavy rain, all of this pushing east at 20 miles per hour. Let's go down to Kannapolis, where it looks like it's really coming down. Let me pull up that Kannapolis camera, see what's going on. Yep, pouring pretty good there. You see the cloud to ground lightning. This again is the Cannonballers Atrium Ballpark there. We're looking off to the northeast here. So right field and to the right is kind of east-northeast, and center field's more north-northeast. And then if you can get left field, you're looking kind of northwest, but serious cloud to ground lightning just about everywhere you look.
It's like a light show tonight.
Yeah.
It really is.
It's a new severe thunderstorm warning.
Let's see. Where is that? Severe thunderstorm warning now, Rowan County until 10:30. Again, these storms are capable of producing wind gusts in excess of 60 miles per hour. Hail is one of those impacts we've already seen today. Most of the Charlotte area, areas north of Charlotte, perhaps pea-size hail, we've gotten those reports so far. But earlier this afternoon and evening, we had some golf ball size hail, anywhere from 1.5 to 2 inches. So right now, we're continuing to monitor the storms that are moving about east. Brad, would you say about 20 to 25 miles an hour?
Yeah,
or a little bit faster now?
Probably 20. I mean, just looking at the speed, they definitely are going faster than they were earlier. So yeah, I think Yeah, they're now probably 20, 25. They are picking up a little speed. The radar is indicating about 26 miles per hour, where about, I'd say 10, 15 minutes ago, we had about 21. So they picked up a little bit of speed. And if you look at the radar, you can kind of get an idea. Yeah, they're moving much quicker than they were. I mean, it's 5 miles per hour, but it's noticeable, especially since we've been watching it move so slow for most of the evening. So again, this is primarily Rowan County, most of northeast Mecklenburg, and all of Cabarrus County. But heads up next, Stanley County. You're in line for this. I bet we're going to get a warning here any minute for Stanley County because these cells are continuing to push to the east. And we're starting to see the watch get whittled away back to the west, which will then slowly but surely probably get whittled away as these lines move east, because this will be the back edge, kind of the severe. All clear from severe will be on the back edge of these storms as they continue to push off to the east.
So right now, Ashe, Watauga, Avery, Caldwell, Burke counties are no longer in the severe thunderstorm watch. And then we'll watch and see how the watch continues to be trimmed back, probably over the next hour to hour and a half, especially west of 77, Brad.
Yeah.
How was that one cell doing that was over in the Gaffney area?
It's falling apart pretty much.
That was moving into York County. So that one has lost its momentum. Still heavy rain, some lightning.
This one moving into Cabarrus County in particular looks like it's picking up a lot of speed and probably producing some stronger winds. Yeah, right around Harrisburg, we got another surge of wind moving into Harrisburg right now.
And it's taking on some configuration there that's interesting.
Yeah, we got probably 35, 40 miles per hour. So nice little surge of wind there. So in Harrisburg, there's probably going to be some bigger gust coming through as it continues to push to the east. So Harrisburg, right around the Speedway, it's really coming down. Concord Mills, right there, Bruton Smith Boulevard, you can see up at the top there. So we're right in the middle of that cell. It is really producing some cloud to ground lightning as well. And you notice, just to tell you how dangerous lightning can be, if you look, there's actually several strikes way outside of where the storm is, out here, Mint Hill, another one south of Big Lick. And again, we've seen lightning strikes as far as 22 miles away from a storm. If you saw the picture we showed you earlier from our camera in Dallas, I mean, when you look at this thing from a distance, it's a huge storm. The top of that storm is around 45,000 feet tall. It's a mountain. It's bigger than a mountain, It's a mountain in the atmosphere, and lightning coming out of the top of that can go really far away where there's no rain or even cloud in the sky. Even from this distance, you'll see a big bolt of lightning come out of the top and actually arc off to the side. And if we watched this long enough, you probably would see some of those lightning strikes coming out of the side, and those are the ones that strike really, really far from the actual storm. So we've seen a ton of that this evening. Probably the most electrified storms we've seen in a while around here. Haven't seen storms produce this much lightning. The other thing is it's at nighttime, so lightning at night just generally looks like it's more vivid and more frequent because it's pitch black outside and you see the lightning. So it's kind of like stars in the sky. They're always up there, but during the day you don't see them. Sometimes, at night when this lightning happens, you see it from really far distances that you normally wouldn't see from the day. So we're seeing a ton of that out there tonight. And again, if you're in home and it's pitch black and all you see is lights flashing outside your windows, it's probably very disturbing. And I don't blame you. And the thunder is just as loud. We're getting pretty late at night here. We're almost at 10 o'clock, and a lot of kids are trying to get some sleep. A lot of animals trying to lay down, and we know a lot of pets that just do not like the thunder. And we definitely, those pets, got to watch out for them. Make sure they're in a protected spot. They're not outside and trying to run away, because a lot of dogs are really sensitive. Even some cats very sensitive to thunder. And so this is the kind of night where you might want to make sure they're in a safe spot or they've got a good place to lay until these storms pass, because they are going to be producing a lot of thunder here for the next hour or so. Temperature is still 84 degrees out there, so we still got some heat and humidity for these storms to feed off of.
very warm, very muggy night. But if we look at the radar, I guess if we continue with this path, Brad, instead of drifting more south, they could exit the Piedmont sooner if they continue more on the eastward track.
Yeah.
As opposed to continuing to move like south through Union, Anson, Richmond. I guess we'll have to see how they continue to flow.
Yeah, I wonder how. The thing is, they've kind of started going east now. I don't know if they're going to drop too much further south unless the storm coming into York some perks back up. But yeah, I really think maybe along 74 south might completely stay out of these storms, and they might just stay to the north. So I'm surprised I haven't seen a warning for Stanley County yet, because the way that line is pushing east, and it's been so strong here in parts of Cabarrus County. That we've definitely seen some wind damage in there.
And this particular area had that medium risk for severe weather.
Yeah, and it was primarily for straight line winds, and that was our biggest concern east of Charlotte, and this is moving into that area right now. So you've seen some other warnings off to the east. I'll widen this out, and you can see a pretty big cluster moving toward. This is kind of all collecting together and becoming a big complex of storms between Raleigh and Charlotte, so it's continuing to push off to the east.
And this cell is the one in Mecklenburg County into Cabarrus County is almost out of Mecklenburg County.
Yeah. So yeah, it's pretty much all in Cabarrus and Rowan, Iredell and Mecklenburg. You're technically in the warning, but you technically should probably be out here because the warning is moving. So the heart of these cells, the severe part of the storms at least, are moving primarily into Rowan County and Cabarrus County, and then these will continue to push east into Stanley County through time. We're probably going to start seeing some flood advisories for these areas east. This is an area that was clobbered pretty well last week by heavy rain. So I'm not going to be surprised if we see some flood advisories issued in short order here.
Right.
So again, if you're just you're watching us online, first time checking in, you maybe just hear about the thunderstorms, but man, there has been some lightning tonight. It has been a rough evening for wind damage, for hail, and now the lightning strikes. And it does look like everything is pushing east at a better clip right now. Last time I checked, 26 miles per hour. We're still around 26, so we haven't accelerated too much more. We at one point slowed down to around 15 to 20 miles per hour, and then recently we've seen an uptick. Yeah, there is a concern for some flash flooding to the east as this storm cluster kind of gets together. So we might see some rainfall rates of 1 to 3 inches per hour, and 2 to 4 inches in some of the heavy rain areas east of us. Sand Hills East would be an area we're going to watch for some flash flooding. A lot of lightning photos and pictures coming in, so people are getting a good view of these tonight.
Yeah, and these storms are, the ones that are out there now are just not showing too much of a sign of letting up as they continue to push east. I'm looking at the estimated rainfall, different computer, but yes, the rain is definitely coming down, Brad. It's interesting how we're going from the beginning of the storms to just more discrete cells, some intense hail, to the wind damage, and then we have the lightning now. And let's not forget about the heavy rain. And as you mentioned, this could also now lead to flooding some of those hard-hit areas.
So yeah, a couple of these spots, like I said, eastern Lincoln County, northwest Mecklenburg, around 1.5 to 2 inches. So pretty significant rainfall in these areas. And now they're pushing off to the east. They're getting out of Mecklenburg County almost completely, still in the university area, but almost out of Meck. And then Mooresville, it's hanging on, a little back building going on there in Mooresville. But boy, all of Rowan County and all of Cabarrus County, and now heads up Stanley County. Been trying to give you a heads up. Albemarle area, Norwood, Big Lick, really big storm heading your way from the west. You've probably been watching the lightning and you've heard the thunder for what seems like in a couple hours now. Probably that doesn't seem that long. It was probably 8:30 we started seeing these So we're coming up about an hour and a half ago that these storms really started cranking up, and now you're starting to see them head your way. What's going to be interesting is if we see any development on the backside, or if that's it. I think that's probably going to be it for severe weather. So what I can do is, for folks that are watching online, so we'll draw a line right here. Everybody west of here is all clear from severe. So we can give the all clear in those areas to the west or to the left of that line. To the east, we're still going to have an ongoing severe weather threat here until these storms exit the region, which I think is probably going to take until 11 o'clock, maybe midnight at the current rate, as they continue to push off to the east. So most of what we're seeing now is just lightning. Not seeing any more damage reports coming in, and I'm not seeing anyone even giving me tweets or information about wind or strong winds. Everything now is kind of transitioned to lightning. A lot of lightning. Most of my tweets are just filled with amazing lightning pictures and videos. And
I think lightning is definitely still in the show for tonight. An impressive display of Mother Nature as we have the intense lightning. If we can take a look at the Dallas camera, we can definitely see that storm over Charlotte as we look back towards Charlotte now, certainly illuminating the sky tonight.
That's Kannapolis, I believe, right?
And
out in right field. Yeah. So pretty loud out there. A lot of thunder and lightning. The good news is in Kannapolis, it looks like they're kind of right on the edge. And it looks like the worst has just moved away from the stadium there. So the stadium is in downtown. And the worst of this, it's been a long afternoon. Been off to the northeast there in southern Rowan County. Between
Can I get you a coffee, Brad?
Shot of espresso, yeah. So these are some of the tweets and that you guys have sent us. Look at the lightning. I mean, this is the thing I've noticed from our cameras, and a lot of our viewers, and you have noticed, thank you for sending those in, has been the vivid lightning, the cloud to ground lightning, boy, some spiders. Those, when you see those like spider lightning, those are what we call anvil crawlers. Those are lightning that's actually going along the underside of the anvil, way up there, sometimes 30, 40,000 feet. So it's like we've got a new warning. They're just going to extend the warning from Harrisburg into most of Cabarrus County. But yeah, thank you for sending all these tweets. And remember, you can tweet at me, at WXBrad. You can tweet at the station, at WCNC. But one of the best tools we have is our app, our WCNC app. If you can get our app, I'm telling you, the app is a great tool because you can watch this stream, which you see right now. But what you can also do is you can download our app. And if you download our app, you can use the Near Me feature. It's a feature where you can take these pictures and videos and submit them to us. And the great thing is it'll give us a geolocation of where you are, so you don't have to worry about, always putting that information there. Because sometimes I get great reports and someone says, this is what's happening at my house, and I don't know where your house is. Or this is what's happening here, and I don't know where here is. So that happens a lot. So if you're watching on a device, it's kind of hard to do. But maybe if you're watching on another device, you can scan that QR code. But if you're watching on your phone, that's kind of hard to do. The best thing to do is just search WCNC in your app store. But if you scan that QR code, you can grab our app, and we'll send you push notifications like this when we get warnings. And we get stuff like tornado warnings or streaming coverage like this when we're not on TV, because we're not on TV right now. We're just streaming. And we do stream quite often during severe weather. You can pull this up and watch us on your phone, your tablet. The great thing is you can watch us on TV. We have an app on Amazon and Roku. You can watch there. You can watch us on YouTube. So if you have those apps on your TV, your smart TV, you can watch us there as well. And you can watch us anywhere. It doesn't have to be here in Charlotte. I love it because I watch all the time when I'm out of town, so I can see what's going on back in Charlotte.
Stalker.
Yeah, got to keep up to date with what's going on. So quick look again. Let's go back to the radar. That's our WCNC app. It is a great tool. But you can see the warnings. We're getting some new warnings, but they're really not new warnings. They're just extending the warnings off to the east now to 10:45. Which will be putting us up against our 11 o'clock news. But If you want to tune in on our over-the-air or cable or streaming, you'll see us there as well. You can also watch the news on our app. So those services will carry our newscast as well. But these are new warnings that are up for Rowan County and Cabarrus County. They're till 10:45 now, it looks like. For Harrisburg, that cell has got a lot of wind in it still. You can see the push of wind. Like, I'm going to back this up. And what you're looking at, the velocity data, is that red air. That red is the red and yellows. Those are winds pushing away from Harrisburg. At one point around Harrisburg, right here, we had winds. Let me query this really quick. We had some winds in here that were 45, 50 miles an hour. So, and those are winds away from the radar. So they're positive numbers. Towards the radar would be negative. That's what the plus and minus on those, that's what that indicates. It kind of shows us the direction of the wind in relation to the radar. And then there's a new warning for most of Rowan County, and this one as well is until 10:45. So they're technically two new warnings, but they're just continuations of the previous warnings as they push off to the east. A lot of great videos out there. I'm looking at some of them. Some great photographers in our area. I got some great time lapses of these storms rolling through Uptown, which I think are going to be spectacular. Of the lightning in Uptown Charlotte continue to push east. So there we are at the top of the hour, 10 o'clock. So we've whittled away some of these other warnings. Mecklenburg County, yeah, still technically a little section there. East Meck, near the Cabarrus County line. 485, kind of in the northeast part of town there. Harrisburg as you're going on 29, 49. My phone keeps going off for warnings as they get canceled or new ones get added. And you can see that's the warning for Rowan County. So I got two separate warnings up there. But China Grove, a lot of lightning. Salisbury, tons of lightning moving in. Let's look at the wind speeds on that real quickly. Yeah, still some really strong winds in there. North side of Salisbury. Some pretty good winds. Excuse me. We also have some really heavy rain in there. I want to show you that. The rainfall rates. Look at these rates. Surprised we don't have flash flooding going on here. So the rainfall rates have been anywhere from an inch, inch and a half, almost 2 inches per hour. The saving grace is it hasn't been doing that for a whole hour, so you're getting to the point where you don't have a full hour of rain. So if it moves out in an hour, then you don't get that 2 inches, 1.5, 2 inches. But if it sits there for that period of time, that's how much rain you would see in roughly an hour. And typically, anytime you see an inch and a half, 2 inches per hour, that's when you really start to see some flash flooding. And it doesn't take as much because, you start seeing areas get saturated, the ground just can't hold it, the creeks and streams can't hold it, and you see areas that start to see flash flooding. So Harrisburg, the worst wind is pushed east of you. Looks like the worst winds are pushing into Salisbury right now. So all in all, thankfully the winds are calming down. Looks like the lightning's kind of gone down a little bit in that cell in Cabarrus, and the lightning's really picked up. Just to give you an idea of the lightning, I'm just going to tally this in the last 15 minutes. 90 cloud-to-ground lightning strikes in the last 15 minutes. Pretty amazing. They had that much lightning in that cell. And that continues to push east. That lightning is starting to let up a little bit. I think we still have that on our Dallas camera here. Yeah, now it's getting, we can actually see clear skies now at the top, but we can still see the anvil top of that storm as it's pushing well east of Charlotte. So you can see the lightning still coming out of the top of it. Off to the right, the light you see on the ground, that's the lights of Charlotte illuminating the cloud base. And then all the cloud-to-ground lightning you're seeing.
And Brad, at one point we had like 8 warnings up there, but then at 10 o'clock they sort of dropped off.
Yeah. That was a big old, that might have been a little sprite coming out of the top of there too.
It's quite interesting to see that. Now, as we get closer to about showtime, about how long do you want to continue streaming? as we get ready for the 11 o'clock news.
We're probably going to jump off here in a little bit, and we will be back on, obviously, at 11. The warnings that we still have up are for mainly Cabarrus and Rowan County till 10:30 to 10:45-ish. So we might stay on here for another 5 minutes or so, and then we're going to go back, get ready for the 11 o'clock show. But again, if something crazy happens, we'll jump back on. And make sure you're following me on Facebook and Twitter. I'll continue to post updates through the evening. But the areas of greatest concern right now really are just for lightning, heavy rain. We're not seeing as much wind or hail. So I'm getting a little more optimistic. The severe risk is starting to diminish quite a bit. We got a little cell popping up near TGK. So folks in South Charlotte and eastern York County, Panhandle of Lancaster, and Union County might end up seeing some rain. But the cells that we're watching is this one right here, which is near Harrisburg. That's a severe thunderstorm warning till 10:45. So that's going to be up for a while. That's a slow move. And that's the storm we just showed you from that tower cam over in Dallas. And then we go to China Grove, Enochville, up into Salisbury. Rowan County, just whole Rowan County is under just a huge storm right now. And if we look at the velocity data, pretty strong winds in there, but not nearly what we had before. These are just really loud, big downpours, tons of lightning, and winds maybe around 40 to 45 miles per hour. So we're continuing to see these really strong winds kind of diminish a little bit, but still around 40, 45. That's enough that it'll blow the lawn furniture and stuff around in the yard, even bring down a tree branch here and there. But you're starting to see the winds subside a little bit, but the lightning is not going away. And because it's at night, that lightning is absolutely illuminating everything out there. So we're going to wind down here for a little bit. It's 10:05. Again, the warning's till 10:30, 10:45 for Rowan, Cabarrus counties. We'll see if these storms begin to continue to weaken, or we might see them perk back up depending on where they're going, because the atmosphere to the east, there's storms there already. So it's going to be running into an environment where they're probably not going to maintain themselves. But I am watching to the south, areas that have been untouched by storms today. We're seeing a new cell develop right around the Palisades and Teal Creek, TGK, Lake Wiley areas, Carowinds, Exit, Fort Mill, pushing east towards Pineville. So we might see another, if there's going to be a cell that gets strong after this, it's going to be down here, because this atmosphere down here, this whole area has not really been touched by storms today. So I don't think it would take much to get a storm to develop. So we're going to come up. We'll give you the Dallas camera one more time, looking off to the east again. Thanks for watching. You could see that storm. That is the storm over in Cabarrus County. It is still producing a lot of cloud-to-ground lightning. It is going to be an active a couple of hours here, but things are beginning to push off to the east. Again, severe thunderstorm warning continues for Cabarrus and Rowan County until 10:30 and 10:45 this evening. We'll have complete coverage coming up tonight at 11 on WCNC, and if you're watching us on our app or other streaming services, we'll be on there as well. It's 11 o'clock. You can go to the WCNC.com or WCNC app, or watch our WCNC Plus streaming service, and you can see updates coming up at 11 o'clock. But for now, we're going to take a little break and get ready for that 11 o'clock news.